The morning sun rose over Seoul, spaceport painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Diang stood on the observation deck, his tablet clutched in one hand while he watched the horizon. Somewhere up there, beyond the clouds, aliens were coming, real aliens, after 200 years of wondering if humanity was alone. They finally had their answer. "You look nervous," Hannah said, walking up beside him. She wore her military uniform, crisp and professional, with her Special Forces badge gleaming on her chest. "Don't be, we've handled worse than a diplomatic meeting," Diang managed a small smile. "You've handled worse. I'm just a scientist. The scariest thing I usually deal with is a rejected research paper." Hannah laughed. "Well, today you get to meet actual alien life. That's got to count for something." The system crackled to life. "Incoming vessel detected. Ada 15 minutes. 15 minutes." Diang's heart raced. Humanity had achieved faster than light travel only 3 years ago, stumbling onto the technology through their own research. They thought they were the first. They were wrong. The galaxy was full of life, and now that life was coming to meet them. The ship appeared first as a small dot, then grew larger as it descended. It was beautiful, all smooth curves and shimmering metal that seemed to shift colors in the sunlight, nothing like the blocky, functional ships humans built. This was art and engineering combined into something incredible. The vessel landed with barely a sound. A ramp extended and the delegation emerged. Diang had seen the preliminary images, but nothing prepared him for the reality. Ambassador Kevesh looked like a massive praying mantis, but with 6 arms instead of 4 limbs and eyes that sparkled with intelligence. Behind him came Python, the scientist, who resembled a large salamander walking upright with 4 eyes positioned around his head to give complete vision. "Greetings," Kavanash said through a translation device that hung around his neck. His real voice sounded like clicking and chirping, but the translator converted it to perfect Korean. "We come representing the Galactic Council, extending welcome to humanity as you join the greater community of spacefaring species." The formal introductions took an hour. Young explained Earth's scientific achievements while Hannah outlined their defense capabilities, keeping things diplomatic and non-threatening. The aliens seemed pleased, if a bit condescending. Kevin Ash kept referring to humanity as newly emerged and developing, which made Hannah's jaw tighten. Though she said nothing, everything changed when P. Thanner asked to perform a standard planetary analysis. "It is merely procedure," the amphibian scientist explained, setting up a portable scanning device. "We collect baseline data on all home worlds: gravity, atmospheric composition, biological diversity. It helps us understand your needs and how we can better accommodate you in galactic facilities." "Of course," Diang said. "Whatever you need." Painter activated his scanner. The device hummed, collecting data from the surrounding environment. Diang watched the scientist's expression with growing curiosity. Painter's eyes widened, then he tapped the device as if it had malfunctioned. He reset it and ran the scan again. "Is something wrong?" Diang asked. "The readings must be incorrect," Pathner muttered, more to himself than to Diang. He ran the scan 3rd time, then a 4th. Each time his skin changed color slightly, shifting from blue-green to a paler shade. Kibben noticed Pithinger report. The scientist Looked up, his 4 eyes blinking in. Sequence, Ambassador, I need to run. Full planetary analysis. Immediately, with your permission, I must return to the ship and use the main computer. This portable unit must be damaged. Very well. Panther practically ran back up the ramp. DeYoung exchanged a glance with Hana. Something was definitely wrong. 20 minutes passed. Kevin Ash made polite conversation asking about human culture and art, but DeYoung could tell the ambassador was distracted. Finally, Pithaner's voice came through on Kevin Ash's communication device. Ambassador, please come to the ship now, and perhaps the humans should remain outside for the moment. Kanak's head tilted in what might have been confusion or concern. Excuse me, he said to the humans, then returned to his vessel. Hana and moved closer to DeYoung. That's not a good sign. No, DeYoung agreed, it's really not. They waited. Through the ship's windows they could see movement and what looked like a heated discussion. More aliens appeared, gesturing wildly. At one point an alarm sounded inside the vessel. Finally, after 30 minutes, Kanish emerged. He walked differently, now more carefully, as if the ground might give way beneath him. 3 other aliens followed, all wearing what looked like protective suits. We need to discuss something, Kevin Ash said. His translator couldn't quite hide the tremor in his voice. Please tell me honestly, what is Earth's classification? In your own estimation, how dangerous would you rate your home world? DeYoung blinked. Dangerous? I don't understand. It's just Earth, it's our home. Painter stepped forward holding a data pad. His hand shook slightly. I have run the analysis 17 times. I have checked every sensor, every calculation. The computer has verified the results against the entire galactic database. He paused, his skin now completely pale. Your world is classified as a Class 13 Deathworld. Silence. What does that mean? Hana asked. Kevin Ash seemed to struggle for words. The classification system ranges from Class 1, which is extremely hospitable, to Class 10, which is theoretically survivable, but only with extensive protection and limited exposure. Class 11 and above are considered theoretical. We did not believe they could support complex life. He gestured around them. Your gravity is crushing. Your atmospheric oxygen content is toxic. Your temperature fluctuations are extreme. The sheer number of dangerous organisms per square kilometer exceeds any known measurement. DeYoung felt confused. But people live here, billions of us. It's fine. That is what terrifies us, the Thunder said quietly. You are not just surviving this world, you walk around unprotected. You breathe this atmosphere without assistance. You withstand this gravity without mechanical support. His 4 eyes focused on DeYoung with something that looked like fear. What are you? Hana crossed her arms. We're human. Just human. Another alien wearing a full environmental suit spoke up. I accessed your public information networks during the analysis. You have facilities where humans voluntarily increase gravity for physical training. You have individuals who climb mountains where the oxygen is even thinner for recreation. You consume liquid ethanol, which is a poison, as a social activity. The alien's voice rose. You have organisms living in your bodies, trillions of them. That would be classified as dangerous parasites on any council world, and you call them necessary. DeYoung looked at Hana. She looked back at him. Then, despite the Tension despite the fear in the aliens. Voices they both started laughing. I'm sorry, Diang said, trying to compose himself. It's just ... we truly don't understand what's strange about any of that. This is normal for us. Kevin stepped back, maintaining distance. We need to establish protocols, quarantine measures, not to contain you, but to protect our delegation. We were not prepared for a Class 13 environment. He paused. We were not prepared for a species that considers a Class 13 environment home. That evening, as the alien delegation remained in their ship running continuous medical scans on themselves, Diang stood again on the observation deck. Hannah joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. They're afraid of us, she said, handing him a cup. Yes, Diang agreed. He took a sip of the hot coffee. The caffeine, a mild stimulant that humans had been consuming for thousands of years, another thing that would probably horrify the aliens. The question is what happens now. Hannah looked up at the stars. Now. Everything changes for them and for us. In the alien ship, Cavanash was already composing his report to the Galactic Council. His hands trembled as he typed. The title of the report was simple: First Contact with Class 13. Deathworlders Humanity. Below it he added a single line that would reshape galactic understanding. They have no idea what they are. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began at what humans would call 3:00 in the morning Seoul time. Diang sat in the observation room of the university laboratory, drinking his 4th cup of coffee while watching the holographic display. Hundreds of alien species represented by their council members filled the virtual chamber. All of them were talking at once. Council Overseer Threx called for order. The crystalline being body chimed like bells when he moved, a sound the translator couldn't quite convert into words. The data has been verified. Earth is confirmed as a Class 13 death world. This session will determine appropriate protocols for interaction with humanity. We should avoid them entirely. One council member said, a being that looked like floating gas with eyes. Nothing good can come from species that evolved in such conditions, or we study them. Another countered, think of what we could learn. Study them from what distance? They might be dangerous. Diang rubbed his tired eyes. Hana sat beside him, looking amused. They're arguing about us like we're not even here. Technically we're not, Diang pointed out. They wouldn't let us into the actual council chamber. Too dangerous for them. MSU entered the observation room carrying a medical bag. The doctor looked even more tired than Diang felt. They want biological samples, blood, tissue, complete medical workup. They're sending a medical team, but they're scared to get too close. He laughed without humor. They want me to collect samples from myself and other volunteers. I'll volunteer, a voice said. From the doorway, Juan walked in, still wearing athletic clothes from her morning run. The university student and track athlete smiled. Sounds interesting, plus I'm curious what they'll think about normal humans. Normal, Hannah repeated. That's a word that's about to lose all meaning. Testing began 2 hours later. The alien medical team arrived in full protective suits, the kind used for handling extremely hazardous materials. They set up their equipment in the laboratory, maintaining a distance of at least 3 m from any human at all times. Juan sat on the examination chair, relaxed and curious. One of the alien doctors, a being with 6 tentacles and no visible face, approached cautiously with a scanning device. Please remain still, the translator said. We will begin with non-invasive scans. The scanner hummed, then beeped, then made a sound like an alarm. Her skeletal structure is internal, the alien doctor said, his voice rising in pitch. The protective framework is inside the body, not outside. How does she survive impacts? We heal, Jan said simply. Bones are pretty strong. They can take a lot before they break, and when they break, they grow back together. Takes a few weeks usually. The alien doctor made a sound. The transil. He continued the scan, his tentacles shaking. Her muscle density is incredible. The oxygen carrying capacity of the blood is far beyond anything in our medical database, and the heart, it is a mechanical pump of extraordinary power. Pithiner, who was observing the examination, spoke up. Show them the endurance test. Jan shrugged. Sure. What do you want me to do? Run, Poner said. As you normally would. They moved outside to the university track. The alien observation team set up at a safe distance, their cameras and scanners focused on Juan. She did some basic stretches which made several aliens recoil as her joints bent in what they clearly found disturbing angles. Ready, she called out. Run 5 km. Pathiner instructed. Your normal pace. Yuan started running. The aliens watched in silence. After the first kilometer, one of them spoke. When will she slow down? She won't, Hannah said. Not for a while. Humans are endurance runners. We can maintain this for hours. Hours? The alien sounded horrified. Our fastest runners can sprint for perhaps 200 m before exhaustion. We can sprint too, Hannah said, but we can also just keep going. It's how our ancestors hunted. They would chase animals until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. That is horrifying, another alien whispered. G1 completed the 5 km in just under 22 minutes. She wasn't even breathing particularly hard when she stopped. Want me to keep going? No, several aliens said at once. Back in the laboratory, Minsu demonstrated the blood samples. He pricked his finger with a small needle, showing the aliens the dark red blood that welled up. Note the color, he said. The iron content in our blood is very high. We need it to carry oxygen efficiently in our high oxygen atmosphere. That concentration of iron would be toxic to most species. One alien doctor said. It's necessary for us, MSU explained. He held up the finger showing the small wound. Now watch. Over the next few minutes the bleeding stopped on its own. The aliens watched in fascination and horror as the human body sealed the wound naturally. It heals without intervention, Pithiner said, taking notes rapidly. The body has automatic repair systems. Well, yes, MSU said, for small injuries anyway. Bigger ones need more help, but the body still does most of the work. Our immune system fights infections. Our blood clots too stop bleeding. Our cells regenerate damaged tissue. He smiled. We're pretty resilient, an alien repeated. That is an understatement. De Jong stepped forward with a data pad. I've prepared some additional information. Historical data about human survival. He brought up images and charts. Humans have survived ice ages where temperatures dropped far below what you consider survivable. We've survived plagues that killed millions but left survivors who adapted. We've lived in Deserts in frozen tundras on. Mountains and deep jungles, we eat. Hundreds of different organisms, many of which contain natural toxins that we've learned to process or cook out. Images changed, showing historical hunting scenes. Our ancestors would track prey for days, literally running them to death. We have more sweat glands than almost any other Earth species, which lets us cool our bodies during extended activity. Most predators on Earth can sprint fast, but they overheat. Humans can just keep going. One image showed a human swimming in the ocean. Next to them, clearly visible, was a shark. "What is that?" an alien asked, pointing to the shark. "That's a shark," Hana said. "Apex predator, been around for millions of years, perfectly evolved for hunting, and the human is swimming near it. Some humans swim with them for fun," Hana said. "Not always safe, but some do it anyway. We're curious like that." The alien observation team fell silent. Threx's voice came through the communication system. "Dr. Minsu, please explain the human immune system in detail." Minsu pulled up a microscopic image. "Our bodies are constantly under attack from bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. Every breath, every touch, every meal introduces potential threats. Our immune system fights them continuously every second of every day." He showed images of white blood cells attacking invaders. "We have multiple layers of defense. If something gets past one layer, another layer stops it, and our body remembers threats, building immunity over time. You are constantly fighting invisible warfare inside your own bodies." An alien asked. "Yes," Mew said, "most of the time. We don't even notice, only when something particularly nasty gets through do we feel sick. Even then our body usually wins within days." Panther was typing furiously on his data pad. "This explains the caloric requirements. You need enormous amounts of energy to maintain these systems, to fuel these bodies, to heal from damage. How much do you eat daily?" another alien asked. "You maybe 2,000 calories," she said. "More if I'm training hard." 2,000, the aliens Trancel struggled with the number. "Our species requires approximately 400 to maintain health. 2,000 would be ... excessive, dangerous. That's just average for humans," Jan said. "Athletes need more. I probably eat closer to 3,000 on training days." Diong pulled up another chart. Human interaction with other Earth species is also worth noting. We domesticated wolves, turning apex predators into companions. We drink the milk of other mammals, something almost no other species does past infancy. We keep predatory animals as pets. We ride on large, dangerous animals for sport. We dive deep underwater where the pressure would crush most beings. We climb into the sky where oxygen is scarce for fun. An alien asked weakly. "You do these things for fun?" "Well, not everyone," Diong admitted, "but yes, many humans seek out dangerous activities for enjoyment. We call it adventure." Hannah pulled up a video on her phone. "Here's me last year skydiving." The video showed her jumping out of an aircraft, falling through the air at terminal velocity, then deploying a parachute at the last moment. "You threw yourself from an aircraft," an alien stated deliberately. "It's called skydiving," Hannah said. "It's fun. The rush of adrenaline is amazing." "Adrenaline," the owner said. "Yes, I read about this. A hormone you produce during stress that increases strength, speed, and pain tolerance, a natural combat. Enhancement drug, I guess you could call it that, Hannah said. We just call it adrenaline. The testing continued for hours. Each new revelation seemed to disturb the aliens more. The fact that humans could voluntarily hold their breath for minutes, that human skin could tan to protect against radiation, that humans could adapt to different time zones and sleep schedules, that human mothers carried their young internally, providing nutrients directly from their own body. The Galactic military simulation facility floated in orbit around a neutral moon, a massive station designed to train peacekeeping forces from across the Council. Commander Zelt stood in the observation deck, his reptilian features twisted in what might have been skepticism. His scales shifted from green to a darker shade, a sign of his irritation. This is unnecessary, he said to Kanak. We have already established that humans are physically unusual. Why must we test them in combat scenarios? Because the Council needs to understand their capabilities in all areas, Cavendish replied, including military. Better to know now than be surprised later. Zelt huffed a sound like steam escaping. Fine, but I predict your humans will perform adequately for perhaps 2 hours before exhaustion. That is standard for most species in field conditions. Hannah stood with her team in the preparation area, running through equipment checks. Taywin, a Marine sergeant with an easy smile, checked his rifle. Think they're ready for this? Probably not, Hyenji said. The combat medic adjusted her medical pack, making sure everything was secure. But that's half the fun, right? Diong watched from a separate observation area connected by video link. He had been invited to provide scientific commentary, though he suspected he was really there to reassure the aliens that humans weren't going to do anything too frightening. Too late for that, he thought. The simulation parameters appeared on screens throughout the facility. Long-range patrol scenario across varied terrain, including mountains, forests, and desert. Distance 50 km expected. Completion time for elite forces 12 to 16 hours with rest breaks. Hostile context possible. Standard loadout. Weapons, supplies, and survival gear. Your team is ready? Zelt asked Hannah through the communication system. Ready, Hannah confirmed. Her team consisted of 6 Marines, all experienced, all in standard gear. Nothing special, nothing enhanced, just humans. The simulation began. The environment materialized around them through advanced holographic technology, indistinguishable from reality. Mountains rose in the distance, a forest spread before them, and the air felt appropriately thin for high altitude. Move out, Hannah ordered. The human team started at a steady jog. The alien peacekeepers, a mixed unit of 12 soldiers from 6 different species, began at a similar pace. Everything seemed normal for the first 30 minutes. Then the differences started showing. At the 1-hour mark, the alien unit slowed to a walk. The humans maintained their jog. Zelt noted this but didn't comment. Different species, different pacing strategies. At 2 hours, the aliens took their first mandatory rest break. They sat heavily, breathing hard through their various respiratory systems. The humans slowed to a walk but didn't stop. Shouldn't the humans rest? One of the alien observers asked. They're still in the green zone for heart rate and oxygen consumption, Diong said, reading the biometric data. They Don't need to rest yet. At 3 hours, the alien unit took a second rest break. The humans still hadn't stopped. They had transitioned between jogging and walking several times, but they kept moving forward, covering ground steadily. Zelt's scales shifted to a confused blue. This is unusual. At 4 hours, the simulation introduced the first hostile contact. Holographic enemies appeared, requiring both units to engage in combat. While continuing their advance, the alien unit handled it well, taking defensive positions and eliminating threats efficiently, but the engagement cost them energy and time they needed. Another rest break afterward. The humans fought differently. They didn't stop advancing. Hannah's team moved through the hostile area like water flowing around rocks, some members providing covering fire while others advanced. Then switching roles seamlessly, they cleared the area and kept moving. They didn't rest after combat, an alien observer noted. Combat raises adrenaline levels, DeYoung explained. Right now, they're probably feeling more alert, not less. At 6 hours, reality set in for the alien observers. The alien peacekeeping unit had covered maybe 30 km and was showing serious signs of fatigue. The humans had covered 42 km and were still moving at a steady pace. This is impossible, Zelt said flatly. Environmental conditions, the distance, the combat engagement, all of it should have exhausted them by now. Should have, DeYoung agreed, but humans evolved by outlasting their prey. This is what we do. Hannah's voice came through the communication system. Request permission to accelerate pace. We're on schedule to finish early. Zelt looked at Kevin. Accelerate. They want to go faster. Approved, Kevin said, curiosity overcoming his concern. The humans increased their pace. Taewon started humming a tune which made Hyunji laugh. They were 6 hours into a grueling march through hostile territory, and they were humming and laughing. At 8 hours, the alien unit reached the 38 km mark and requested extraction. They had performed admirably by Galactic standards, but they were done. The humans were approaching the finish line. The second scenario began the next day. After both units had rested, this time, the focus was on combat intensity rather than endurance. The simulation dropped both teams into a hostile urban environment. Objective: secure multiple buildings, extract civilians, hold position against waves of enemies. The alien unit performed well, using tactics refined over thousands of years of galactic peacekeeping. They were professional, efficient, and effective. Then one of Hana's Marines, a soldier named Baora, took a hit. The simulation registered a serious injury to her left arm. Broken bone confirmed by the system. She grunted in pain, dropped to cover, and called for Hyunji. The aliens watched, expecting a medical evacuation. That was standard protocol. Serious injury meant extraction. Hyunji reached Bora's position, assessed the injury, and pulled out a combat tourniquet and pain medication. She splinted the arm, quickly gave Baora an injection, and asked, "Can you shoot?" Uber tested her right arm, nodded. "Yeah, I can shoot." "Then let's go." They continued the mission. Bora fought with one arm, immobilized, adapting her tactics, using her weapon one-handed when necessary. She didn't slow down. She didn't ask for extraction. She just kept fighting. Zelt scales flashed through several colors, finally settling on white, which DeYoung had learned meant shock. She has a Broken bone, why is she still fighting? Because the mission isn't complete. Hannah said simply, as if this was the most obvious thing in the world, but they. Pain and Alienetic protested. The injury, she should be incapacitated. Humans have high pain tolerance, Dion explained, and the adrenaline helps. Plus, we have a concept called pushing through. Sometimes you just keep going. Despite injuries, that is not healthy. The alien medic said, probably not. Dion admitted, but it's effective. The simulation continued. The humans completed all objectives, extracted all civilians, and held their position until the scenario ended. Thorough fought through the entire thing with a broken arm. During the debrief, Zelt asked to see historical human combat footage. Real footage, not simulations. Hannah hesitated, then agreed. She pulled up archives from various human conflicts, carefully selecting examples that showed human resilience without being too graphic. The aliens watched in silence as human soldiers continued advancing. Despite injuries that should have stopped them, they saw medics treating wounded under fire, then returning to combat. They saw humans carrying injured comrades for miles to reach safety. They saw footage of a soldier who continued fighting after losing significant blood, refusing evacuation until his team was safe. Acceptable casualties, Zelt said quietly. You have a tolerance for loss that we do not. We protect our own. Hannah corrected, but yes, we understand that sometimes people get hurt. Sometimes they die, and we keep going anyway because stopping would mean more people get hurt, more people die. Panner, who had been observing the military exercises with scientific interest, pulled up data on his pad. I have been researching human history. Your species has been fighting wars for thousands of years, almost continuously. You have refined combat into an art form, but more than that, you have adapted psychologically to handle sustained conflict in ways other species have not. Taywin spoke up from where he sat with the other Marines. It's not that we like fighting, most of us don't. But we're good at it when we need to be. And humans have always been good at doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard. Another simulation ran the next day, testing individual combat capabilities. This one focused on personal resilience and recovery. The human volunteers and alien volunteers were put through identical stressors, extreme temperature fluctuations, high-intensity physical demands, limited sleep, and surprise combat scenarios. The aliens performed well initially, but degraded quickly as stressors accumulated. By the second day of the 3-day scenario, most aliens were operating at maybe 60% efficiency. The humans also degraded, but more slowly. By the second day, they were still at roughly 80%. More importantly, they recovered faster during brief rest periods. A human could sleep for 4 hours and bounce back significantly. Most aliens needed 8 to 10 hours to achieve similar recovery. It's the healing factor again, Dion explained to the fascinated observers. Human bodies are constantly repairing damage. Even sleep is more efficient for us. The transport descended through Earth's atmosphere toward the Amazon rainforest, carrying a team of the galaxy's most respected xenobiologists. Sun Ho sat in the passenger section, watching the aliens check their equipment for the 10th time. Each scientist wore a full environmental suit, rated for Class 10 conditions, the highest protection available. You Really don't need those, Soho said. Gently, the ecologist wore simple hiking clothes and carried a basic pack. Rainforest is perfectly safe if you follow basic guidelines. Safe, the Thunder repeated, his voice muffled by the suit's filters. Your data indicates this region contains more than 400 species of dangerous organisms per square kilometer. Well, yes, Suho admitted, but dangerous is relative. Most of them won't bother you if you don't bother them. The other aliens exchanged glances that clearly communicated they did not find this reassuring. Chief Scientist Vaughn, an angular being with crystalline features and an attitude that matched, checked his scanning equipment. We will conduct proper scientific analysis regardless of your planet's actual threat level. The data will speak for itself. Suho smiled, but said nothing. The data would indeed speak for itself. They landed at a research station on the edge of the rainforest. The alien scientists emerged from the transport cautiously, as if expecting attack at any moment. The afternoon sun beat down hot and humid. The air buzzed with insect life. Initial readings, one scientist announced. Temperature 32 degrees. Humidity 87%. These conditions are at the upper limit of survivability. This is actually a nice day, Sun Ho said. Not too hot. The team entered the rainforest with Sun Ho leading. Every few meters, he would pause to point out various plants and animals. The aliens would scan them, record data, and become progressively more disturbed. This plant, Sun Ho said, indicating a beautiful flower, contains alkaloid compounds that can cause paralysis, and this tree bark here has toxins that can cause severe rashes. And you are touching it, an alien scientist said, watching Sunuho handle the bark without hesitation. I'm careful not to let it contact my skin directly, Sun Ho explained, but even if it did, it would just itch for a while, not lethal or anything. They continued deeper into the forest. Sun Ho pointed out a small, brightly colored frog on a leaf. That's a poison dart frog. Beautiful, right? Panner scanned it. Immediately, his 4 eyes widened. The toxin concentration in its skin could kill 20 adult members of my species, and you classify this as a small amphibian. It's only dangerous if you lick it or something, Sun Ho said. Otherwise it's harmless. We mostly just leave them alone. Lick it, Vorslatter struggled with the concept. Why would anyone lick it? They wouldn't, Sun Ho said. That's my point. It's only dangerous if you do something foolish. A snake slithered across the path ahead. The alien scientists jumped back, their suits sensors screaming warnings. Sun Ho simply waited for the snake to pass, then continued walking. You did not react to the venomous serpent, an alien noted. It wasn't interested in us, Sun Ho said. Snakes generally avoid humans unless threatened. That one was just crossing to get to the other side of the path. By the time they returned to the research station 3 hours later, the alien scientists had cataloged over 200 species according to their classification system. 167 were rated as dangerous, 42 as highly dangerous, and 8 as lethal. This is one small section of forest, Python said, reviewing the data, and the concentration of threats is extraordinary. Now multiply that by the entire planet, Funho said. Rainforest, deserts, oceans, mountains, tundra. Earth has extreme biodiversity, and yes, A lot of it can hurt you if you're not careful, but humans have lived alongside these organisms for thousands of years. We learned to coexist. That evening, young me arrived at the research station. The virologist carried several containers of samples, all carefully sealed. She set up a presentation for the alien scientists who gathered in the station's main hall. I want to talk about the organisms you can't see, young me began. The microscopic life that covers every surface of Earth. She brought up images of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microorganisms. At any given moment, a human body contains approximately 39 trillion bacterial cells. That's more bacterial cells than human cells. The alien scientists stared at the numbers. You are outnumbered by parasitic organisms in your own body. One asked. They're not parasites mostly, young me corrected. They're symbiotic. We need them. They help us digest food, produce vitamins, train our immune system. Without our gut bacteria, we would die. Vaughn stood abruptly. This is absurd. You are claiming that humans require infection by billions of foreign organisms to survive. Yes, Yumi said simply. Our microbiome is essential, but it's not just bacteria we carry. We're also constantly exposed to viruses, fungal spores, parasites, and other microorganisms. Most of them our immune system handles without us even noticing. She pulled up more data. Earth's viral diversity alone is staggering. We estimate there are millions of viral species, most of which we haven't even identified yet. Humans are exposed to thousands of different viruses throughout our lives. And you survive this? An alien scientist asked. Weekly. Most of the time, Young said. Sometimes a new virus causes problems, and people get sick. Sometimes people die, but as a species we adapt. Our immune systems learn. Survivors pass on resistance to their children. It's natural selection at work. Pinner was taking notes frantically. This explains the robust immune system we documented. You are not just fighting occasional infections, you are in constant biological warfare. I wouldn't call it warfare, Youngmi said, more like a complex ecosystem. Yes, some microorganisms are harmful, but many are neutral or beneficial. Humans are not separate from Earth's biosphere. We're part of it, deeply integrated with it at every level. Diong joined the presentation via video link from Seoul. I want to add some historical context. He said Earth has experienced 5 major mass extinction events. The most recent killed the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Life on Earth has repeatedly faced near total annihilation, and yet it persists, it adapts, it evolves. Humans are the product of this 4 billion year process of survival and adaptation. Vaughn looked at the data on his pad, then at the images Youngmi had shown, then back at his data. Your classification system must be flawed. These readings cannot be accurate. Readings are accurate, Pithiner said quietly. I have verified them multiple times. Earth is precisely as dangerous as the data indicates. It is our understanding that is flawed. Impossible, Vor snapped. We have classified thousands of worlds over millions of years. The system works. The system works for normal worlds, Pathonner countered. Earth is not normal, perhaps. It is time we admit that our standards are based on limited data. We have been classifying worlds based on species like ourselves, species that evolved on gentler worlds. we never encountered a species like humans before, so we never had to question our assumptions. Sunho pulled up a map of Earth. Let me show you something else. These are the environments humans currently inhabit. He highlighted regions across the globe. We live in deserts where daytime temperatures exceed 50 degrees and nighttime temperatures drop below freezing. We live in Arctic regions where it stays frozen year-round. We live at high altitudes where oxygen is scarce. We live on coastlines threatened by storms and tsunamis. We live in volcanic regions, earthquake zones, tornado alleys. You choose to live in dangerous areas. An alien asked. We live everywhere, Simho said, because to us, nowhere on Earth is too dangerous to inhabit. We adapt our shelters, our clothing, our behavior. We learn the patterns of local hazards and work around them. It's just what we do. Young Me added another point, and we bring other species with us. We domesticated wolves into dogs, wild cats into house cats. We keep these predators in our homes, often sleeping in the same rooms as our children. We domesticated wild cattle, wild horses, wild pigs. We took dangerous animals and made them partners. You mentioned humans consume the nutritional secretions of other mammals, Vorn said, his voice strained. Explain this. Milk. Diang said most mammals produce milk for their young. Humans are the only species that continues to consume milk past infancy. And we drink the milk of other species. Cows, goats, sheep, even camels. That should be toxic, an alien scientist said. Cross-species consumption of infant nutrition fluids should cause severe digestive distress. It does for some humans, Diang admitted. Lactose intolerance is common in some populations, but many human groups evolved the ability to digest milk into adulthood. It became an advantage, an additional food source, so evolution favored those who could digest it. Vaughn sat down heavily. You are describing a species that has bent evolution to its needs, that has integrated itself into its planet's biosphere so thoroughly that you cannot be separated from it, that has taken the most dangerous world in known space and made it home. We just call it living, Sun Ho said. Discussion continued into the night. The alien scientists presented their findings and human scientists provided context. Every new piece of data seemed to reinforce the same conclusion. 6 months after first contact, the Galactic Council Grand Assembly Chamber looked different. Human observers now occupied a designated section, no longer separated by protective barriers. The aliens had realized that humans were not actually dangerous to be around. They were just different, very, very different. De Jong sat in the human delegation area wearing formal attire that the aliens had come to recognize as diplomatic dress. Beside him, Hana wore her military uniform representing Earth's defense forces. Around them, hundreds of alien species waited for the assembly to begin. Council Overseer Threx called the session to order with his characteristic chime. This assembly will determine humanity's official status within the Galactic Council and establish protocols for integration. We will hear presentations from various delegations followed by discussion and vote. The first speaker was from a faction that Diong privately thought of as the Fearful Group. A tall, thin being with multiple limbs spoke in rapid tones. Humans remain a potential threat. Their physical capabilities, their endurance, their tolerance for conditions we find lethal. All of this presents risk. I propose continued limited contact and restricted travel. Murmurs of agreement came from some sections of the assembly. Cavanagh stood to respond. The insectoid ambassador had become one of humanity's strongest advocates, something that surprised everyone, including himself. I understand these concerns. I shared them initially, but 6 months of contact has shown that humans are not aggressive expansionists. They are explorers, yes, curious, certainly, but they seek cooperation, not conquest. They have the capability for conquest. The first speaker countered, capability must be considered. Hana asked for permission to speak and stood when Threx granted it. Yes, humans are capable of violence, but capability is not intent. We have weapons that could destroy entire cities, yet we haven't used them in generations. We have the strength to take what we want by force, yet we choose to ask and trade instead. She paused. Every species here has some capacity for harm, judging us solely on our ability to cause damage rather than our choice not to. That's not fair assessment. That's prejudice. The assembly fell quiet. Several alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. Diang stood next. With the council's permission, I would like to present humanity's formal proposal for integration. He activated a holographic display. First, medical cooperation. Human healing and immune responses are unusual, yes, but they can benefit other species. We propose joint research into adaptive therapies, regenerative medicine, and immune system enhancement. Our doctors and scientists want to share what we've learned from living on Earth. Minsu's face appeared on a secondary screen from a research facility. We've already had preliminary success working with Pithan's team. We've developed a treatment that improves healing rates in 3 species by studying human cellular regeneration. This is just the beginning. Human biology adapted to survive constant challenges has solutions to medical problems the galaxy has struggled with for millennia. The assembly listened with growing interest. Medicine was a universal concern. Diang continued. Second, rescue and emergency response. Human endurance makes us ideal for long duration rescue operations in harsh environments. We can operate in high gravity, extreme temperatures, and toxic atmospheres that would incapacitate other species. We want to help. Hana added, we've already run joint training exercises with council peacekeeping forces. Human teams can reach survivors in conditions where others cannot. We can carry injured people across distances that would require multiple relay teams of other species. We're not looking to replace anyone. We're offering to complement existing capabilities. A delegate from a species that looked like floating tentacles spoke up. You would risk your people to save ours. Yes, Hana said simply. That's what you do for friends. Threx's crystalline form chimed thoughtfully. What else do you propose? Exploration and colonization. Diang said, our analysis shows that 17 worlds the Council has classified as uninhabitable are actually survivable for humans. Not comfortable perhaps, but survivable. We could establish research outposts, relay stations, resource extraction facilities in locations that are currently inaccessible to other species. This caused significant discussion. The galaxy had many worlds that fell into a frustrating category: valuable resources or strategic Locations but too hostile for settlement if humans could live there. Pith single quotes nor stood. From the scientific delegation, I have reviewed humanity's proposal thoroughly. From a scientific perspective, it is sound. Humans are uniquely qualified to inhabit high-stress environments, but more than that, I believe contact with humanity challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about habitability, survival, and strength. He pulled up data showing the comparison between human capabilities and galactic averages. For too long we have defined normal based on our own experiences. We classified anything outside our comfort zone as extreme or impossible. Humans show us that normal is relative. What is a death world to us is home to them. What we consider impossible endurance is their daily life. They are not wrong or strange, they are simply adapted to different conditions. Vaughn stood as well. The chief scientist who had initially doubted everything now spoke with conviction. I have spent 6 months studying Earth and its inhabitants. I have revised my understanding of biology, ecology, and evolution. Humanity is not an aberration. They are an example of what life can become when pushed to its absolute limits. They are proof that life is more resilient, more adaptable, more remarkable than we ever imagined. Jaehee's presentation came next. The teacher appeared on screen from Earth, where she was running the first inter-size school. I want to show you what cooperation looks like, she said. The screen showed human children and alien children learning together. Small human girl was helping an alien child understand a puzzle, speaking slowly and patiently. An alien child with multiple arms was teaching a human boy how to juggle, all of them laughing. Children don't see differences as threats, Jaehee said. They see them as interesting. Yes, human children are stronger and can run longer. Yes, alien children have abilities humans don't. But they play together, learn together, and help each other. If children can do this, why can't we? The image shifted to show older students working on a science project together, combining human endurance with alien precision, human creativity with alien mathematical abilities. The result was something neither could have achieved alone. This is what integration means, Guy said. Not eraser of differences, but celebration of what each brings to the whole. Threx called for discussion period. Many delegates spoke, some still concerned, others intrigued, many cautiously optimistic. An elder delegate from a species that had been part of the council for millions of years finally stood. I have seen many new species join the council. I have watched the galaxy change and grow, but I have never seen anything quite like this. The elderly being looked at the human delegation. You frighten us because you are strong, but you interest us because you are kind. You could demand, but you ask. You could take, but you offer to give. This is unusual, perhaps unique. The delegate continued. I propose we accept humanity's integration proposals, but with a trial period. Let us see cooperation in action. Let us witness whether humans truly mean what they say, and let us learn from them as they learned from us. The vote, when it came, was not unanimous. Some species voted for restricted contact, but the majority voted for integration with the trial period. Humans would be welcomed into galactic society, allowed to travel and trade, permitted to establish joint research and cooperation programs. Diang Felt a wave of relief, Hannah smiled. Around them, the human delegation celebrated quietly, respectfully, but Threx was not finished. There is one more matter to address. Classification system. Earth remains a Class 13 Deathworld by our measurements. This is accurate, however. I propose we add a new designation for worlds that have produced spacefaring species despite extreme conditions. Designation that recognizes these worlds not as impossible but as remarkable. I propose we call them crucible worlds. Worlds that forge strong species through challenge. Earth is the first officially recognized crucible world, but I suspect we will discover others as we explore. Further, Pithner added, and I propose we establish the human standard as a new baseline for extreme environment capabilities, just as we have standards for different gravity levels and atmospheric compositions. We should have a standard that represents the upper limits of biological resilience. This will help us identify other potentially habitable worlds and possibly other crucible species. The proposals passed. Earth was officially a Class 13 Death World and a crucible world. Humans were officially the biological standard for extreme adaptation. 3 months later, the first joint human-alien colony was established on a world the Council had designated as Class 9, too hostile for normal habitation. The human colonists wore light protective gear. The alien scientists and support staff wore heavy environmental suits. Together they began building research facilities and living quarters. Dutsung Ho, who had volunteered for the colony mission, stood on a rocky hillside watching the sunset. The gravity was heavy.